Hi, and welcome to Asia News Today. Now, you know that at the Thaiger, from time to time, we'll try out new programs. Asia News Today was one of those programs, and we've been doing it for about 6 weeks now. In this case, it hasn't quite gathered the number of views that we would have liked, so tomorrow's program will be our final edition of Asia News Today. We might reboot it in the future, or we might wind it into another program, but in the meantime, tomorrow will be our last edition. For today, the Philippine presidential candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr has retained a clear lead in the latest polls for a new Filipino president. Another mid-air incident in Asia after a Malaysian Airlines flight from KL to Sabah on Borneo, and yes, it was another Boeing 737, the Indonesian government launching a legal suit against Thailand's petrochemical giant PTT, and confusion over the possible entry of tourists back into Japan. Spoiler alert, don't book your flight just yet. All that and more coming up on today's Asia News Today. Another mid-air incident in Asia after a Malaysian Airlines flight from KL to Sabah on Borneo dipped its nose and dropped suddenly, allegedly flying erratically before turning back to Sabah. The incident happened on Sunday, but has only come to light after passengers posted their stories on social media. The airline says that flight MH2664 from KLIA turned back due to technical issues with the aircraft. The aircraft was an 8-year-old Boeing 737-800, the same type of aircraft that crashed in southern China last month, killing all 132 passengers and crew. Passenger Halimah Nasoha posted about her experience some 30 minutes into the mid-afternoon flight, saying many passengers panicked, screamed, and some were crying as the aircraft lost altitude sharply. A flight radar tracker shows the plane dropping suddenly from 7,620 to 7,000 metres, a drop of some 620 metres. Website Simple Flying claims the drop was some 7,000 feet, a much larger drop. The passenger said, "It was very frightening to many of us. I really felt I was going to die." She went on, "The flight was unstable. It went up and then went down, but the first time it went downward was the worst." Passengers claimed the terror lasted for about 10 minutes as the plane flew erratically. The Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia says they'll be examining the plane's internal flight data monitoring system, but indicate the pilots appear to have responded correctly. The Indonesian government is launching a legal suit against Thailand's PTT Exploration and Production petrochemical company for alleged economic and environmental damages suffered by local people around Kupang in Indonesia's far southeast following a 2009 Montara oil spill. The oil spill followed an explosion and uncontrollable spillage in the Timor Sea off the northern coast of Western Australia, lasting 74 days until emergency responders could drill a new pit that stopped the leak. The Thailand oil company operated the Montara field in the Australian waters at the time of the incident. PTT Exploration and Production is set to pay compensation to Indonesian seaweed farmers. The total bill could top more than US $262 million.
Join the conversation and have your voice heard. Discuss the issues, share information, and get information. Thaiger Talk is where you keep in touch with everything Thailand. Go to thethaiger.com/talk.
Philippine presidential candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr has retained a clear lead in the latest polls for a new Filipino president, though his lead has narrowed after the current Vice President Leni Robredo picked up support. The election of a new president, who will take over from Rodrigo Duterte, is on May the 9th. Backing for Marcos, the son of the country's late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, dropped slightly to 56%, down about 4% compared to the polls in January and February, while Robredo's support grew to 24% from 15% the month before. It's still a substantial margin in favour of the former dictator's son. Other candidates polled a mere 8%, 6% and 2% respectively. They may as well pack up and go home if the polls are any indication. Meanwhile, Marcos's running mate, Sarah Duterte Carpio, the daughter of incumbent President Rodrigo Duterte, remains the top choice for vice president with 56%, again way in front of the other candidates. In the Philippines, the president and vice president are elected separately. A former Indonesian human rights lawyer who was part of an Islamic hardline group has been sentenced to 3 years in prison after he was convicted over incitement with the aim to establish a caliphate in a secular country. The 3-judge panel found the 53-year-old man guilty of hiding information from authorities about militants pledging allegiance to the Islamic State back in 2015 and giving a speech inciting people to carry out terrorism acts. During the sentencing, the presiding judge said the defendant does not support the government's program in eradicating terrorism. The man was the General Secretary of the now-banned Islam Defenders Front, which has a long record of vandalising night spots, hurling stones at Western embassies and attacking rival religious groups. The groups demanded Islamic Sharia law to apply to Indonesia's 230 million Muslims. He was arrested in April 2021 after police interrogated scores of suspected militants following the Palm Sunday bombing outside a Roman Catholic cathedral in March last year. That killed 2 suicide attackers and wounded 20 innocent people. The judge ordered the time he's already served to be deducted from his sentence. Japan is set to lift the entry ban on 106 countries. Well, that was the news from the Japanese government, but it caused confusion on social media and gave false hope that tourists would soon be allowed back into the country. In fact, there will be no change to the current situation. A Japanese ministry official tried to clarify the announcement yesterday, saying, in reality, there will be no change to who can enter Japan. There won't be anyone new who will be able to enter Japan as a result of these changes. Foreign students, researchers and business travellers who have been allowed into Japan since March the 1st will continue to be able to enter the country, but all foreign tourists remain barred from entering Japan at this time. According to the official, the latest revision was based on the Japanese Foreign Ministry lowering the alert level of those 106 countries at the start of April. But since the Foreign Ministry is still limiting the issuance of visas at embassies overseas, Japan will continue to restrict who can enter the country. So don't book your tickets to go and see the blossoms just yet. So that's all the main news from our second last Asia news today. Don't forget you can go to the Thaiger shop, support the channel. Got these amazing Thaiger print cups and also our Thaiger logo cups in glowing gold. And there's other stuff there on the shop as well. That's at thethaiger.com/shop. But from all of us here at the Asia News Today team, we'll see you again tomorrow.